Good afternoon to you guys here. It is June 14th here, this lovely Saturday. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. And we've got a lot of weather ongoing across the United States today. Showers and storms in the Ohio Valley, the Northeast, the Southeast, the Plains, the Upper Plains. Basically, if you're not on the West Coast, you're going to see some type of showers and storms at some point today. Even if you're not out in a risk zone here, we had a couple of flash flood emergencies yesterday in southern Indiana, in the Evansville area, not too far from where we're at here as well. We had some significant flooding here in western Kentucky yesterday, as well as the threat for a couple of damaging wind and some hailstorms that came through yesterday. But other than that, yesterday was pretty chill. We had a couple tornado warnings up into Montana yesterday, up into Colorado, and up into Wyoming. But other than that, we're going to repeat that same process really today and going into tomorrow, as we will continue to see a copy and paste of severe weather up in the high plains and the central plains and in toward the southern plains. Lots of showers and storms ongoing. We've got an MCS that moved through overnight that's moving through this morning into portions of Oklahoma here, getting into western Arkansas later on this afternoon, and just a lot of showers and thunderstorms here in upper level low. Finally going to be moving off and weakening as it approaches the eastern portions of the Ohio Valley later on this afternoon and tomorrow. General chance for some wind and some hail back here into the eastern mid-Atlantic later on. We're going to break down this forecast for you guys. Mostly a lot of people are going to see storms across the United States here today, and that's the reason is because of instability, because of the dew points being high, just because we're going to have general thunderstorms. It's summertime. We're getting out of that summertime pattern where things are going to happen whether you have severe weather or not expected. So just general thunderstorms for a lot of people, as we will see over the next couple of days here. So we're going to talk about that, break all that down for you guys here. Just talk about in general what our weather pattern is going to do for the next couple of days. Really not much change in terms of the last couple of days here. Let's go ahead and break that down and kind of talk about what we're going to see here from the Storm Prediction Center today. And we do have a marginal risk of severe weather back down here into the east coast here, up into the mid-Atlantic for wind and for hail. Marginal risk that extends from the high plains all the way down to the central and southern plains here and into the Midwest. 2 slight risk, level 2 out of 5 here that accompany these. These are mostly going to be for wind and for hail. And then we will have an isolated tornado risk as well. 2% tornado risk on the board for both southern Kansas and northern and central Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Norman, Tulsa, Wichita, Kansas. You were in that for tonight. We'll have an overnight event that can happen tonight. We'll kind of talk about that here in just a minute. 2% chance of seeing a tornado from Cheyenne all the way up into portions of Billings, Montana, and Rapid City, South Dakota. Wind threat at 15 and 5% for winds up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. And our hail threat also looking at 15% hatched up here into Montana and into Wyoming and western portions of South Dakota for hail. Could exceed 2 inches in diameter. Outside of that, there, the 15 and the 5% across the other regions could see hail to 1 to 2 inches in diameter. And I'll do a timeline once again of what that's going to look like here in just a moment. Tomorrow for your Father's Day forecast, we got the same copy and paste severe weather once again here. Marginal risk back into North Carolina and Virginia. This will be for wind and for hail. Marginal risk from the high plains all the way down to the central and southern plains once again tomorrow. Going to be the threat for some isolated wind and hail, maybe a brief spin-up tornado in the higher plains up here towards the Dakotas, into Nebraska and Kansas, and then a level 2 slight risk as well back down here into the central and southern plains once again here for winds up to 60 to 70 miles per hour. Some large hail also could be out there. Hatched hail threat in Montana, western South Dakota, and North Dakota again for hail over 2 inches. Outside of those hail-hatched regions and wind regions, we could see winds up to 60 to 70 miles per hour and hail up to 1 to 2 inches in diameter for everybody else. And then once again, there will be a 2% tornado risk as well going into tomorrow's threat. We get to the day 3 forecast, and Monday we've got to watch pretty closely here. We've got a marginal risk and a slight risk that's outlined here from the Storm Prediction Center for your Monday. I do expect this slight risk to get a little bit bigger. We're starting to see some model agreement showing a pretty intense line of storms on Monday afternoon across Minnesota, across Iowa, getting into the plains here. We're going to have to watch this maybe even for a potential upgrade to enhancer wind. We'll see what happens over the next 72 hours here as we get ready for this event, but all modes of severe weather will be possible with this on Monday here. And we're really, like I said, going to keep the central plains, the Midwest here, maybe even portions of the lower Ohio Valley going into Tuesday and Wednesday with severe weather. We're going to keep these chances around. So if you're tired of severe weather, we're not anywhere done near with it. And we do have a day 4 outlook here for your Tuesday from the Storm Prediction Center as well. A level 2 slight risk at play from eastern Colorado back into Kansas, Nebraska, southwestern portions of Iowa, and Kansas. You are now in that, as well as Kansas City, western portions and northern portions of Missouri as well. We're continuing to kind of see these risk zones expand, and they do happen to expand when you get confidence increasing in storm coverage, and we'll probably see that happen a lot here. And then we get to the day 5, and I really want to watch Wednesday. Depending on where our low pressure system sets up and how much instability, how organized this low gets, we could see a pretty significant severe weather outbreak, maybe even, something else, potentially like a derecho or something like that. We'll kind of have to see what happens as we go into Wednesday here, but a pretty big risk zone for your Wednesday next week here. Springfield back all the way up into Chicago, Milwaukee, getting into Michigan here, Detroit, most of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and portions of Missouri are in that risk zone on a Wednesday here. All modes of severe weather will be possible, mostly a damaging wind and a hail threat, but there will be some type of tornado component to this that we will have to watch out for. And as we get closer to this event, we'll let you guys know in terms of those details. And we don't have a day 6, a day 7, or day 8, but there probably will be severe weather as this continues to work east. And then we're going to get another pattern going into the following week, in the 3rd to 4th week of June, where we'll see more severe weather across the high plains and into the Midwest again. So just a lot of severe weather to get through over the next couple of weeks here. That's what happens. And we should start to see a ridge potentially develop going into late next week, where we'll start to see our really warm temperatures, our summertime temperatures, start to make its way to the United States here. Not that it's not already been doing that, but we'll really start to see temperatures get going here. Here's an idea of what we're going to see. Showers and storms moving through this morning and through this afternoon here. We'll be seeing that complex of storms moving out of Oklahoma and Arkansas later on. We'll see storms reinitiate back up here into Montana, back up into Wyoming and into Colorado here. A couple brief cells could produce a brief isolated tornado, some wind and some hail will be the more primary threats. And then we got to watch kind of going overnight here. We could see some showers and some storms get going here. Kind of an organized cluster of storms after midnight tonight across Oklahoma and into Kansas. And these could produce an isolated tornado threat. So OKC, Wichita, Tulsa, Norman, you guys need to be watching tonight after midnight for the threat for a couple of isolated tornadoes. Mostly going to be looking at large hail and damaging winds, but this would be a complex of storms that definitely, don't let your guard off of just because you're in a 2% tornado risk. We all know we can get big time stuff happening in those lower end risk zones. This will really go through about 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're waking up tomorrow to showers and storms in southern and central Oklahoma here, and then eventually that will start to fizzle out as it goes into Texas by midday tomorrow. And then we get another round of storms coming in through Arkansas, into portions of Missouri, another round of storms up into the high plains, up into Minnesota. And we'll kind of talk more about Sunday and Monday in depth in tomorrow's video when I've got a little bit more time. I just wanted to get this video out to you guys today. We're going to be pretty busy today in terms of what we've got going on here. So just a lot of severe weather kind of work with here. We'll do more breakdown later on. Here's once again an overall idea of what our pattern is right now. High pressure down here into the Four Corners, jet stream over top of that ridge there, kind of a divot in our jet stream here as well, where we've got that low pressure system that's weakening as it moves across the Ohio Valley today. So showers and storms up in those areas. We're really going to continue to see that ridge breakdown, and then eventually we're going to get this little impulsive wave of our shortwave trough setup here going into Monday and a Tuesday and a Wednesday. And this is what's going to help set up our severe weather back up here into the Midwest and up into the high plains going into Tuesday, going into Wednesday, maybe even into Thursday, as we see that system works its way off the coast. And then we start to see kind of a northwesterly flow setup. And what happens depending on what happens with this low pressure system that comes in off the west coast. If this high pressure system is a little bit stronger and lifts further to the north, we will probably see this low pressure system move out up into Canada and keep less severe weather in the United States. But there will be still, regardless of that northwesterly flow, and you can get these derecho like MCS days potentially. So we are still going to have to watch for severe weather in the Ohio Valley, in the Midwest, in the high plains going into late next week here. And then after that, things just become a lot more uncertain on what's going to happen going through the rest of the month of June. But I can tell you guys, and I've been telling you guys this, we are going to continue to see spurts of severe weather pretty much until, July gets here. And even after July, it looks to be that we're going to continue to see severe weather days potentially set up here with another ridge to the west and more MCS flowing events going into the Ohio Valley, the upper plains, and Midwest again. So a very, very active period here, really the next 7, 14, maybe even past days than that. We'll kind of continue to keep you guys updated with that as things change here. I want to give you guys an overall idea of what we're going to be seeing here with our total rainfall before we kind of wrap things up here briefly. Next 7 to 10 day rainfall totals here. Some pretty significant rainfall falling over the next couple of days here through next week. Most of that's going to be in the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and in the Southeast, where we continue to see showers and storms on top of that ridge that develops. And eventually things will start to dry out, hopefully, as we go into the last week of June. We'll just kind of have to see how that plays out. But other than that, like I said, high pressure system dominating here. No rain expected along the west coast. Most of the rain to the east. That's what happens when you typically get ridge setups like this. So that's what I've got for you guys today. We'll have more of a breakdown tomorrow, kind of in depth on more things that are going to happen. But other than that, be safe, guys. Be weather aware, and we'll see you guys in the next one.